So, BMW R1200GS Touring Edition. I like it, I do. I genuinely do like it. Whether I like it any more than the Triumph, especially with the price, I don't know. It's certainly no more comfortable than the Triumph.
If only I had just gone back and, if only I had just made sure of, if only I had just taken time to, if only. People use the words if only following tragic events or disaster. This is the end of my test ride of the BMW GS 1200 Touring Edition, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go back to the beginning and see how we got to where we are.
Well, hey up, and how the devil are you? You know, I genuinely mean that. How are you all? Are you okay? Because I'm fine. It's a nice sunny, well, reasonably sunny Sunday afternoon in Greater Manchester in the UK in early September. And today I am riding this. I'm riding the 2015 BMW R1200GS, and this is the TE variant, which is the touring edition. In my pursuit of a second bike to go touring on, to run in tandem with Tessie the 200, this is one of the now 3 remaining on my shortlist. As I explained on my last very poor, I must admit, very poor review of the Triumph 800 XRX, which reviewing it, looking back on that video, I didn't do a very good job of it, and I do apologise. However, I mentioned in that video that after riding that with the cruise control, that basically means that any bike I now get has to have cruise control on it, because my often mentioned slight disability, my right shoulder, kind of demands it, especially when you're going a long way. And this is now one of the remaining 3 on my shortlist. The first one being the Triumph Tiger, the second being this, and the third being the Multistrada, which I am test riding next week, so stay tuned for that one. However, back to the business at hand, the BMW R1200GS. I've got this for like 3 hours. The dealer's been very generous with it, and that's Williams BMW in Manchester. And they basically said, oh, you can keep it till we close. We close at 3:30, get it back for about 3:15. You can have it as long as you want. And it's only just gone midday now, so I can have a proper good play on this today. And oh my god, am I gonna! Because I've driven it about 5 miles to where I am now, and so far so good. It is amazingly comfortable. The ergonomics are absolutely superb. It's a bit of a departure from what I'm used to. These flat twins ride very differently to what I'm used to. I have ridden one of these before, but it was about 8 years ago, and it was a 2005 model, so it was the air-cooled model, and it was a renter in Tenerife in Spain, so it had been thrashed like a government mule, and it felt like, but even that, it felt nice. But this one being the TE model, I don't know everything there is to know about the bike. It is, as you can see, it's a bit of a plain colour, but quite nice. Just your ubiquitous BMW GS. You see these things everywhere, but there's kind of a good reason for that. That's because they are bloody good bikes. Bloody expensive, mind, but bloody good. So, without much further ceremony, let's take this bad boy for a ride. The dash is reasonably well laid out, although the analog style speedometer and RPM are a little bit small, and this mounting here, which is for the integral or integrated BMW sat-nav system, kind of gets in the way of the RPM a little bit, but I can live around that. I know that the actual sat-nav things are a bit of an expensive extra, so it's not on this one today. Everything is pretty much as you'd expect the BMW. The switch gear is pretty much the same on all BMWs now. It's a bit plasticky and cluttered, but it all seems to work very well. It's all positioned where you'd want it. This has got heated grips on it, which again is a must for me. It's got the cruise control, which is a must for me. It's got the semi-active suspension, which I've got currently set on soft, which feels lovely, but it goes to medium and hard, and we'll play with that as we go along. It's currently in the road map of the rider modes, so I'll keep that for a bit and I'll go to the dynamic. I don't think I'll be using the enduro or the rain modes today. It's a nice day and I'm not taking it off road. I love the way these Boxer twins start up, the way the sort of bike jumps to the side as the lateral crank turns over. It always makes me smile. So let's see how she does. And you've just gone right where I wanted to turn, matey. So I can't demonstrate the pegs up U-turn, which I wanted to do. But in saying that, it gives me the chance to paddle it around with my feet. And it's just a heavy bike, and it's a big bike, but it hides its mass very well. I think that Boxer twin keeps the centre of gravity really low, and you can feel it's an absolute doddle to paddle around. And once you get moving, the weight just seems to disappear. And it's lovely at low speed. The fueling's really good, and the clutch is feather light. It's probably the lightest clutch I've ever felt on a motorbike, and that's no BS. But I'm not an expert, but the fueling feels really good. It doesn't feel like it's hunting too much. It's just plodding away nicely. That's at second gear. And being used to a bike that likes to be revved, basically my 200, this is a nice departure where you can actually just let the clutch out and the bike's natural torque will actually move it along. So let's just get out of the way here. Yeah, so it's very nimble, and for such a big bike it's quite chuckable. These big wide bars give you a lot of authority over it, and I've got the suspension setting on soft, and it's a bit like riding on air. It really is. The engine seems well balanced and isn't giving me any low speed vibrations through the pegs or the bars. We'll see how that changes on the motorway, but for now it feels really good. And this soft suspension feels really, really nice. It does. Again, I'm comparing it to my 200, and that's just like comparing apples and pears, because the 200 is rock hard suspension, especially the way I've got it set up for the track, but this is luxuriously soft. I'll try the medium and hard settings a bit later on. But one of the first things I want to do is take her on the motorway and see how it feels at constant revs at 70 miles per hour, just to see if there's any vibrations or nastiness that I need to watch out for, and to check out this cruise control, which, as I've mentioned previously, is a big must for me. One thing I'm finding, the RPMs, again it's a twin thing from I've had twins before in the past, but I'm a little bit out of practice with them, but because they don't rev as highly as a triple or a 4-cylinder bike, you don't feel like by the engine sound alone that you're going terribly fast. But when you look down and you see your speedo, oh crikey, you're well into ticketable speed, but you don't even realise it. The gearbox doesn't feel super smooth, but it doesn't feel super clunky as well. I've heard people describe it as being a bit agricultural, And I think that's been a little bit too harsh, because this bike does have a lot of torque, and that's a lot of torque for the gearbox to deal with. So it's not the most refined gearbox, but I could live with it. I'm not overly keen on these mirrors. They do the job, but it's almost like the glasses, the mirror glass is a bit distorted, and it's sort of, the shape of things change a little bit. You could live with it, but I don't know. So now on the motorway, it's 6th gear at 70 miles per hour. There is a very, very slight vibration through the foot pegs, and another small amount through the handlebars. It's not really, really heavy vibration, but it's there. And very similarly to the Triumph, I have that screen in front of me up to its highest setting, and I'm getting wind buffet around my head, which is quite annoying. It seems almost as if whenever you buy these bikes, everyone you see with them has some kind of aftermarket wind deflector on them, which makes me think, why don't they just build them that way in the first place? I suppose if you're the shorter rider, then it would be okay, but me, I'm 6'2", and it's hitting me right in the forehead, and I'm getting a lot of wind noise. Bearing in mind that the kind of people that ride these bikes are usually quite tall anyway, because they're a big bike. So I would cater more for those people rather than the shorties in the world, because there'll be less people buying shortened screens than there are people buying taller screens. Just seems a bit, I don't know, a bit sensible to me. But anyway, so we're settled into the motorway now, and it's a comfortable place to be. It's very comfortable. This seat is glorious. It's lovely and spongy and soft. It accepts your buttocks and corsets them nicely, and with this nice soft suspension, yeah, it's a lovely comfortable place to be. So let's switch on the cruise control. Let's get out of this one, set that on, and cruise control is on now, so we can take our left hand off. This feels very nice. Control the speed with a little toggle switch. I want to bring it back down to 70 miles per hour. There we go. I'm going to zero the MPG, which I've done now, and it's showing 64, 65 MPG. Now that is immediately better than the Triumph. Now the Triumph's an 800. This is a 1200, it's got much more power and torque, but yet sitting here at 70 miles per hour, alright, it's dropping down to 58 now, which is in similar sort of realm as the Triumph. But we are going uphill a little bit. It's just adjusting for the undulations in the road, the uphills and downhills. We'll leave it playing and see how it evens itself out over about 10 miles. But this is nice and comfortable. If it wasn't for that wind noise, it would be superb. So if I just move my head down to there, I can still see over the screen, but the wind noise is gone. So it would need some kind of either aftermarket higher screen or a wind deflector sticking on the top of that one, and that would probably sort it out. MPG's back over 60. I'm going to try and stiffen up the suspension a bit now, just to see if that, because it is wallowing a bit and bouncing along, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't want to get seasick, so let's soft, normal. Let's put it on normal. Doesn't feel much different. Maybe a little less bouncy. Let's try it on hard. Hard. And that just feels like a normal bike now. It's still managing to iron out the bumps in the surface, but it's not wallowing about while it does it. Oh yeah, it's all good. Holding a steady 62 mpg, which is also good. Yeah, so the cruise control is really good. I'll just try and ride it manually now, just to see if there are more vibrations coming through the bars than on the Triumph, and certainly a bit more through the pegs, which I can feel is starting to give me a little bit tingly feet. So I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, it certainly gets a move on when it wants to. Got more than enough pickup for sort of day-to-day riding and long-distance riding. It just is feeling a little vibey. I'm getting it through the seat as well when you get on the gas. Well, you're not always going to be on the gas, so a bit of spirited riding, which brings back 52 miles per gallon, which is livable, so long as you're not holding the throttle wide open all day. Well, that's enough motorway for now, and yeah, it's not too bad on the motorway. Not as smooth as the Triumph though, which has kind of surprised me, but then again the Triumph was absolutely buttery smooth on the motorway. But what has surprised me that this tends to do better MPG on the motorway, which really has surprised me. So that's a big consideration. Slightly more MPG versus slightly more smoothness. All these things will be factored into the final equations. Now we'll put the ESA back into normal, just to see what she's like on the surface roads. Now I've come this way because I know that this road is awfully bumpy. I commute this way on my push bike and it's bloody awful on the push bike. But absolutely zero F is given by the GS. I can barely feel the bumps. My shoulder's coping so far, despite the bit of vibration. But then again, I've only been going about half an hour. I do like this bike's nimbleness though. For such a big bike, very quick to turn, and the torque is lovely. I just hit a horrendous pothole there. Yeah, I felt it, but the bike did not bother. Apparently this ESA suspension adjusts itself on the go. It's constantly adjusting itself as the conditions change. I'm totally unaware of it sat here, but I'm given to understand it's doing that. I shall take the bike at its word. Lots of engine braking from the Boxer Twin, which is nice. It's a very steep hill this, you're probably not picking it up on the wide angle, but this is quite a steep hill. I actually train by pedalling up this when I'm training for my sportives on my push bike. But the engine braking on the Twin is more than adequate to hold the bike out from running away from itself. And the brakes are excellent. I deliberately braked hard then just to test what they're like on a corner. Brilliant. But they will be good because the Brembo, it looks like the level crossings down on the toy railway, so we're just going to nip past. What I do like is the way this tail lever suspension doesn't dive on the braking. I remember it from the last one I rode donkeys years ago. I remember that being quite a nice. So I've done nearly 42 miles on the road setting now. So let's see what the dynamic setting is like. As I say, I'm not going to bother with rain, I'm not going to bother with enduro, which are the other two modes it has. Let's try out dynamic. So clutch in, press road, dyna. I think that's going to be dynamic. Now it's selected it, but it's not engaged it. When does it engage it? That's if I shut the throttle again. Yeah, it's engaged it now. There it is. So I think it's clutch in, shut throttle, and it engages first opportunity it gets. Right, so we're now in dynamic. Ooh, crikey, straight away. Big old kick in the pants. Hey, this changes things a little bit. Straight away, I much prefer this mode. I wonder if it affects the MPG at all. Yeah, this feels really nice. Wow, what a difference. Normally, on these rider modes, on some bikes, you don't really notice much of a difference in them. It's like my Tuono, for example. I can't discern a great amount of difference between sport and track mode. Whereas this is noticeably more urgent in dynamic mode. That mode is well named, for it does feel more dynamic. That's why it's called dynamic mode, Dave, you fricking moron. Yeah, so the BMW R1200GS Touring Edition. I can't do it justice in a little short review like this. I've only done 50 miles on it up to now. I've got it for another hour or so yet. But at the moment, what do I like about it? Well, I like its comfort. It is gloriously comfortable. The seating position's nice. The seat itself is wonderfully comfortable. There is a little bit of vibration through the bike, but I don't think it's enough to put me off totally, but it is a consideration against the Triumph, which has 0 vibrations. I love its low-end torque, and I particularly like this dynamic riding mode. It's very nice indeed. It's got excellent brakes, and the suspension is absolutely glorious. It's switching me on to this semi-active suspension lark. It really is. I like the electronic aids that it's got, which it should have for the amount of money that it costs to buy one of these things. So all in all, it's a nice comfortable bike, and I do like the MPG on it. Even with that spirited bit of riding there in dynamic mode, it's still averaging 52 MPG, which is remarkable. It's quite far ahead of the large Triumph Explorer, because that, you know, we pushed that a bit. According to our reviews, it get in the sort of low 40s. Yeah, it's quite a refined bike. Not as refined as I thought it would be though. That little bit of vibration just does stop it from being superb, but it's a very good bike. What I don't like about it is the small amount of vibration that I've been noticing. I don't particularly like the gear lever either. It's probably something I would get used to, but I find that I have to make quite a forceful effort to put my foot underneath it, because on the peg my my left heel, ankle I should say, is right up against the frame, but my toe is only on the very tip of the gear shifter. That is the one thing that stands out on this bike more than anything that I don't particularly like. But it's got a lovely super light clutch, and the brake action is really nice, very modulated, with a super light pull to get things stopping. The rider mode's good, I think I've already said that. But all in all, it's a very, very nice bike. Would I pick it over the Triumph? And that's the £15,000 question. That I don't know. Still running. Because when you weigh it up, this without the luggage on is like £14,500. You can add another £1,500 for luggage if you want the panniers and top box adding. So you're hitting the thick end of like £16,000 for this bike, fully kitted up, as I would need it to be. Now the Triumph, the XRX, comes in at sub £10,000 before you put any extras on it. Now upgrade that to the XRT model, which has tons and tons of other extras on it, like heated seats, a large output generator for auxiliaries. I could put the full aluminium luggage on it with every single extra in the accessories book thrown at it. Everything. I could put everything on that bike and it would still come in like less than £12,000. And rounded up to £12,000, that's £4,000 less than this. And is it £4,000 better than a fully loaded Triumph XRT Tiger? I don't know. I really, really don't. And I really I'm struggling to see where the extra money is. But this is what you get when you buy German. You get a big bill. And as nice a bike as it is, I'm just not sure that it's £4,000 nicer. Or if I got the XRX with everything that I wanted on it, it's like £11,000. And that's with absolutely everything that I personally need. So again, you're looking at £5,000 saving. Now £5,000 would pay for a lot of touring fuel, would pay for a lot of nice stays in hotels, and this is the kind of thing you've got to bear in mind. I don't have an endless budget, you know. I suppose I'm in a, you know, to be able to look at getting a second high-end bike, I'm, you know, I'm not entirely poor. I must have some disposable income to be able to afford these nice bikes, but I don't want to squander it. So I don't know. These are the considerations that are weighing heavily on the mind of Veefour at the moment. And next week I've got it all again when I try out the Ducati Multistrada DVT. My word, my life is difficult. Which nice machine do I pick? Oh, it's a terrible, terrible choice. Oh no, what will I do? So, BMW R1200GS Touring Edition.
If only. This is where we came in. The day before this video was made, I lost a set of keys out of the pocket of my leather jacket while I was riding along on my 200. The keys that I lost were all the keys to my expensive bike locks, about £500 worth. Also the keys to my garage and my parents' garage, and it's going to be a complete and utter nightmare to sort it all out. And I thought to myself when I discovered the loss of these keys, knowing full well that I would never find them again, I thought if only I had checked the zip on my pocket, I would still have the keys and the nightmare could have been avoided. And now, if only I had taken the time to check the stand on the bike. If only I had noticed that I had parked the bike on a slight slope.
I like it, I do. I genuinely do like it. Whether I like it any more than the Triumph, especially with the price, I don't know. It's certainly no more comfortable than the Triumph, and in some respects the Triumph is a bit more comfortable. Shit! Fucking hell! Fuck's sake! Oh, you're fucking kidding. Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, that's me 250 fucking quid out of pocket. Oh, shit.
Shit indeed. £250 that cost me. Bit of a blow to the old pocket, but that's the excess that you sign up for when you agree to take these bikes out on a test ride. Just never thought it would happen to me. All credit goes to Craig at Williams Manchester. He was very, very good about it. He had to stay on for another hour after the shop closed while I got back from the recovery truck, and I can't recommend them highly enough for their patience and understanding. All I can say is shit. I'll see you next time.